time. That's me. So what we're going to do today is actually, we have a video we're going to show you. I have a photo slideshow that will kind of play in the background and just talk about the program and answer any questions you have about the program itself or the timeline for applying, which is actually pretty far away. So this video, one of the things that I had students do, I'm Danielle Demuth, sorry, this is Brittany Dernberger.
Hello.
I'm the faculty director of the program. I'm a professor of women and gender studies. I'm a very big advocate for study abroad wherever you go. I think you should go while you are in college. It's really just the best time. The kind of program that this is a faculty-led program, which means we go together with the GVSU faculty. We actually partner with the Women's Center, so this is a collaborative program between the two of us, so a faculty member from Women and Gender Studies and someone from the Women's Center go, which makes for a very helpful and supportive situation for everyone. We go together, it's GVSU students mostly, but it doesn't have to be, so if you have friends at other colleges or universities who are interested in a study abroad program, we do take students from other places, which is really kind of interesting and cool. Benefits of that obviously are that you have this cohort that you go with and you come back with, so that actually it kind of changes your college experience, I think, to come back having studied abroad and have this really close relationship with other students and faculty. So one of the things that I had students do for this trip last time was create a digital story, kind of telling the story of what they learned when they were there. And so one of our students, Felicia, who's actually a graduate student now at Grand Valley, made this video to help us with the recruitment, so I'm going to start with that video.
South Africa is a country with a dynamic history and many beautiful attractions that are beyond imagination. Learning about apartheid, the work of Nelson Mandela, experiencing wild safaris, enjoying the view of the beautiful coastlines, and forming relationships with local community members provide a unique abroad opportunity. Many people have an image of Africa that may include poverty, racial inequalities, and shortage of resources. As students from the United States, many of us think about going to Africa in the spirit of doing good and helping others. In reality, you're going to receive more while you're there than you're ever going to give. You're going to learn a great deal more than you're ever going to teach. We have much to learn from South Africa as they continue to actively work towards the equality granted in their constitution. Participating in the Women and Gender Studies and Women's Center Study Abroad trip will expand your worldview as you interact with community and children in Johannesburg and Cape Town, South Africa. The unique service learning component of this trip allows for relationship building and genuine partnerships. The Women and Gender Studies and Women's Center program in Cape Town, South Africa combines academic coursework and service learning within a community. The program focuses on gender issues in the region and exploring global feminist perspectives. The following topics will be examined: reproductive health, education, violence, political representation and participation, apartheid, and the role of women and children in various societal and class structures. Students will divide their time between service learning, lectures, and excursions in Johannesburg and Cape Town, South Africa. In addition to the tour of Soweto, Apartheid Museum, and Nelson Mandela House in Johannesburg, participants will experience Robben Island, Cape of Good Hope, Boulders National Park, and other historical sites. Students will partner with SHACO to complete service learning within the community. SHACO is a non-governmental organization based in Cape Town that promotes the involvement of students and other members of the university in Cape Town and local townships. SHACO has years of experience guiding students in their work with adults and children in 6 local township centers that focuses on education, health, social, and community issues.
What is the President of the United States name? Hold on, right now, right now, right now, right now.
The Women in Gender Studies and Women's Center Study Abroad trip to Cape Town, South Africa is a 6-week program. You will receive a total of 6 credits for the courses of WGS 358, Women in Gender Studies in South Africa, and WGS 493, Community Collaborative in South Africa. This program is open to all students who have completed at least one Women in Gender Studies course. Students must also have a minimum cumulative GPA of a 2.5. Applications are due February 1st. For more information, please contact the Women in Gender Studies Department or the Women's Center.
I'm just going to play this slideshow and kind of talk through it. Some of these pictures are actually repeated. So the way the program works is we start out in Johannesburg, where we visit a lot of sites like the Apartheid Museum, the Hector Peterson Memorial, which is where you saw the little bricks with people's names on them that I was looking at in one of those pictures. Really the purpose of starting there, even though we're only there for 3 days, is to get a sense of the history. The Apartheid Museum, especially being there, helps to contextualize what it is we're doing there. And so if you don't know what apartheid is, it was actually a system of dividing people based on color, based on race, that required certain people to carry passes, to abide by a curfew, and the people were not allowed to travel freely, right? So they were actually really deeply segregated. That history in South Africa only ended in the early 1990s, which might be when you were born-ish. When were y'all born? 92. So you were really just born right around the time that apartheid was ending in South Africa. In 1994 was the first democratic election, and that's when Nelson Mandela was elected. And why he is very important to the work that we're doing there is that he was imprisoned from, when did they put him in prison? He was in prison for 27 years, and he was released in 19, yeah. So his role in sort of leading the fight against apartheid is really important, though he's not the only person who was working to end apartheid. He was the first black elected president in South Africa. It's actually a white minority country, but it was ruled by whites for quite a long time. So what we do when we're there is, at the Apartheid Museum, you get a sense of all of the people, all of the activists, all of the people who were working to end apartheid, which is, I think, really, really important. Understanding the impact of that on people's lives, but also understanding the ways in which people work together. So that history obviously is very heavy, but it's really important for us to remember before we go to Cape Town, where you can definitely still see you can definitely see apartheid, the reflection of apartheid there. So this is going kind of fast, but what's been flashing before you are some of the scenes. This is the house that we're probably going to be staying in while we're in Cape Town. It's actually run by Shawco. So you can see there's laundry, there's a patio, there's a kitchen, and basically many of your meals are provided, but there's a kitchen there for the meals that aren't, which is very helpful. Obviously it's much cheaper. We do see, this is where the barbecue would be. We do live all together. Now we're seeing some of the pictures from the sites that Shawco runs in the township. So this is Kyalicha Township. This isn't where we work, but in the first couple of days, once we do get to Cape Town, we tour the places where Shawco is actually doing work. So they do a lot of work in education. This is actually for adult learners who are needing to learn some computer skills and try to get jobs. These are just some kids playing. These are Smileys, which Brittany is brave enough to eat, but they're, yeah, I'm not.
It takes a lot to freak me out. I will eat everything.
This is some of the improvised housing that people live in Kyalicha and Nyanga townships. You can see that it's really put together with corrugated metal. These houses don't have running water. They have taps, which I think there might be a picture of one of the taps. This is also Nyanga. There's a community garden. Compared to that, this is the University of Cape Town, which is actually where our classes are held, and you can see that it's just an absolutely stunning view. It's a pretty well integrated university, actually, I think. These pictures don't seem to show that, but that's sort of a big lunchroom. One of the churches that we visit, St. George's Cathedral, does a lot of work for HIV/AIDS in the community, which I just find beautiful and fascinating. This is some dumb guy feeding a squirrel. I really hate when people do that. This is Table Mountain, which you can actually see from everywhere. On the Cape Coast Drive, we'll actually go, obviously, to the beach, and you can see the surfboards and the, I found this fascinating too, a sign posted for abortion. You know, the seals. I like the wildlife, so you see the penguins, the seals in the bay. I'm not sure how much the fish cleaning picture appeals to other people, but I really like it.
Do you do any hiking and stuff like that?
People do. We take one day where we go up Table Mountain, but you can go up the tram thing, or sometimes people will go back and hike.
You have
It takes
the opportunity to do that.
You definitely have the opportunity to do that, and there's more than one way to get, you know, there's a few different trails that go up to Table Mountain. That's really fun for people. Also to do at the full moon, people seem to like.
Yeah, that made me nervous, but we did have people who did a night hike on top of the mountain.
Because I wasn't doing that myself.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And then this is a beautiful view of Cape Coast Drive. So a lot of times when we think of Africa, many of us have kind of this like very stereotypical image of it's all dirt and huts. And Cape Town is just gorgeous, and often people don't think of the ocean view.
I miss my dogs when I'm there, so I took a picture of dogs. This is from the safari, the game drive that we go on. The safari is actually not a safari where any animals are shot. They actually rehabilitate animals here who have been taken from those. So we get to actually get very close to some of these animals. In this case, I was very, very pleased with myself for petting them. But those are rehabilitated animals. So there's just more views of the townships. I think some of the housing is actually quite, I mean, it's so different from what we're used to that I think it's worth taking note of. 4 Nobel Prize winners from South Africa. Those are, yeah. Coca-Cola signs are everywhere. Yeah. Because they provide free signs. It also provides free advertising for them. When we go to Robben Island, this is actually where Nelson Mandela was in prison. So we see his prison, we see what the prison was like. Part of our experience both there and in Johannesburg is thinking about people who were political prisoners during this time of apartheid, and women. I think I got some of the pictures of the women's prison in here. So this is where Mandela, this is the garden where he was, this is actually his cell in the maximum security prison. We don't get to go into the cell, only President Obama gets to do that, but we get to look right into it. So there's the view of where he was for over 20 years of his sentence there. This is actually a District 6 museum, so you can see one of the things that happened in Cape Town that's really important is that people were forcibly displaced. All of their homes were actually bulldozed and they were removed to different parts of the area, which is how these townships were created. So we get to actually go and see that. And there are people actively working to get people's land back there. This hasn't been, it didn't happen that long ago, right? So there's actually a lot of activism to try to get land back for people. Some people like soccer, so I put that picture in here. Now we're back in Soweto. This was our whole group there. This looks familiar from Felicia's video.
And that is now hanging in the Women's Center. See it in person.
I really love these bricks, which are actually outside of Mandela's house. So one of the places we go in South Africa is the house where Winnie Mandela and the children stayed when he was in prison. The Hector Peterson Memorial is actually a memorial to children ages 11 to 13 who were killed in an uprising against apartheid. So those bricks actually memorialize them. Here's the women's prison. So women were also political prisoners, 10 women to a cell. That's the cell, those are 10 of our students in the cell. For some reason I'm fascinated with cells. Here's the men's prison ward. Actually, Gandhi was kept here. Apparently, I'm very fascinated with that too. Six blood. You may recognize Dimitri. He had a lot of fans in South Africa too. Yeah, he had a lot of fans here and there. This is just now mixed pictures. This is the Cape of Good Hope. Baboons along our drive. Obviously the penguins must be seen. That was Chucky.
That was Chucky. He was very naughty, but very cute.
I just find naughty children very cute. That's probably the wrong approach. So here's some of our students again in Cape Town. This is actually at Table Mountain, the sunset on Table Mountain, which I think is the best thing to see.
How many students can go?
We had 21 last time. He obviously was sucking on the blue marker. He was another. It was your favorite, I think. Yes. More animals. We were very close to those lions on the safari, FYI.
This is the national anthem playing.
This is a homestay that we did. I'll just let it keep playing. So based on the video and whatever other questions that you've had coming here in the pictures or whatever, what questions do you have?
Financial aid. My biggest.
Yeah, that usually is the biggest concern. And so there's a couple of handouts that we have specifically about that.
So let's take a second. Let's see if you want to take one of those and pass it. So what's coming around right now, yeah, those are the same thing, is off of the Padnos International Center website. So we can show you where it is. But that is specifically for faculty-led programs, everything you need to know. And then I'm going to hand everything out so we can talk about it. This is some upcoming workshops on how to pay for study abroad. And if you want to take one of those and pass one. This last one is something we put together. And what will be most helpful on that is the last page. And we can talk about that. So this is always, I think the biggest thing, right? Like this trip sounds amazing, but how am I going to go about paying for this? So if you, so you have some similar information in multiple spots, but the one that says Student Guide to Financial Aid for Faculty-Led Programs 2012-2013, I would start with this. This is from the Padnos International Center. And so it walks you through resources, the contact information of Nick Bromley in the financial aid office. Put like a star by that or make a note of that. That is probably one of the first things you'll want to do is schedule a time to meet with him or even just shoot him an email. And he will want to know your G number and what trip you're thinking about, which would be the Women and Gender Studies and Women's Center South Africa trip. Because everyone's financial aid package is different, right? So we can kind of give you general information, but really each of your situations will be unique. So he'll be able to look at what your financial aid package looks like and what funding may be available through financial aid for this trip. And then it kind of walks you through some basic information, all the different ways, scholarships, grants, kind of points to note from Padnos International Center. They give you some resources where you can kind of budget out how much you think the trip will cost. There's some information about loans, different grants that are available, grants and scholarships. So I would take some time and really like read through that and contact Nick. The other thing that I want to point out on funding ideas for study abroad, that other handout that's 4 pages long, if you turn it over to the very back, this is something that Dr. Demuth and I put together a few years ago. That's kind of outside of scholarships, grants, financial aid, just creative ways over the years that we've seen students fund this trip. So sometimes if you have a birthday coming up or maybe holidays such as Christmas in which you may get gifts, if you know that you're planning on going on this trip or any study abroad trip, you can say, hey, instead of like getting me a gift this year, can you contribute money towards my trip? Or if you're like my grandmother, like she really wants to actually get you a tangible gift, she doesn't want to give you money, we put on the bottom a list of like commonly needed items that you want anyway. So maybe, you know, grandma wants to buy you a flashlight because you know you want to take a flashlight with you, or you know.
For the night hike on table.
For the night hike on Table Mountain. So that's one thing to consider. We also had a student on our last trip who sent just kind of typed out a letter of like why this trip was really important to her, how it was going to contribute to her education, and sent it out to like extended family and family friends, and raised I think like over $1,000 just by saying like,
By
hey,
asking.
yeah, just by asking and talking about why it was important.
Because people know how important this is, they know what an important time it is for you to do this, and they really want to support it. And even your friends, $5, $10, all of it really adds up and makes it a lot easier to go. It was just, and that she only sent that letter one time. You know, I'm not even sure how widely she sent it, and she raised $1,500.
And Felicia, the student that made the video that we watched at first, starting I think about this time of the year, like it was fall when she kind of knew she really wanted to go, every Sunday she would go to like all the off-campus apartments and collect like pop, and I'm assuming most likely beer cans, like from parties.
They were pop, yeah.
Yeah. Beer. Cans, and like, you know, return them to get the money and raise like a couple $100. I know it was enough for her to get her hair done before we left, and it was like her spending money while we were there, just by like every weekend going around and collecting people's pop.
So like
beer
included,
cans.
because it's 4,500, right?
Yes.
Something like that.
And so part of that fee is tuition, which is 6 credits, which is the same price you'd be paying for 6 credits here on campus.
But that's all included, and then so is what else is included? Airfare?
So yeah, that includes airfare, that includes all of our excursions. So when we
so everything we saw there is going to be covered.
Correct.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
And
Well,
then,
my view on that is I want to cover as much as possible in that program fee, because once you get there, you just don't have it. You just don't have any money.
So like meals and stuff, some meals are included, or?
Many meals are included. Generally, breakfast is included. Several of the meals in Johannesburg are included because we're just there such a short time. It's very difficult.
But
to
we
do.
we could like buy our own groceries and stuff.
Yeah,
That's what-
absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, so there's a kitchen there. It's really easy to really minimize how much you spend on those dinners. Mostly dinners are on your own, partly for the reason you have more time to cook dinner than you would to cook lunch. Several lunches though are free also because it gives you a time to explore a little bit. Our neighborhood, it's a neighborhood where we stay, has a lot of really good restaurants and interesting stuff in it.
and food is relatively cheap. Like there was like a burger stand across from where we stayed that I think was like
So cheap.
$7. I mean, it would be the equivalent of like less than $1 for a burger. Just like huge, juicy, good burger.
Would it,
Pretty liked it.
so like all of the like the money for this, is it due February with the application?
No.
Or
So
is it
what,
in the summer?
that's a really good question. So February 1st is when you apply. Your application includes a $100 deposit. This is what makes it like known you're definitely doing it. So you can start your application at any time. In fact, some people have already started their applications. It's a good idea to go in and kind of see what the questions are. But your application isn't complete and the notification isn't sent to the people who are gonna write letters for you until you pay that $100 deposit. So that's important to know, but it goes towards your program fee. Your fees aren't due until they would normally be due for spring semester, so that's like the end of April or something.
Okay. Cool. And then, for that application fee, like, is it hard to get accepted, or is it to do like how? Like,
If you have the basic
requirements,
requirements, it's very easy, right? So if you've met the GPA
do you have
requirement,
essays to write in it?
there's a couple of essay questions, they're not like giant essays,
It's
but
like 500 words or
Yeah.
something, yeah.
it's my general goal to take everyone possible on this trip, because I'm a major advocate of study abroad.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I would take the entire university if I could, but I don't know,
Yeah.
that's something I would do with us. All landing there.
The other thing that we didn't talk about much earlier is that's unique about this trip is it's very service learning oriented, and so you saw some pictures of that of us with those adorable little children. So we do whatever the community identifies as what would be helpful, but most likely that will be the same thing we did this previous trip, which was working at a primary school, and so all of you will be paired most likely one-on-one with a 6th grade learner and tutor them in English and math. So it's a really unique part of the trip because you really form relationships with people in the community that's in a different way than touring around and going to a museum, which we do that too, but it just is, it's such a deep, enriching experience and you're really forming relationships.
Yeah, and it's better than taking 2 normal classes, right? So one of your classes, you're learning all the background information relevant. And instead of one of us teaching that class, we actually bring in people from South Africa, right? So we've got someone from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission who actually investigated the crimes that were committed under apartheid. Yeah, very intense. A poet we brought in, someone who does specific health-related work. We did have a couple of professors. We had someone from like a former government worker who was also a member of the African National Congress. So a political party, that's really important. So that you can actually learn from people there. We've built a lot of relationships with those people, which I think is really important. And then instead of taking another class like that, we have this class which is service learning based. We do some classroom work around that because it's really important to sort of process intellectually and theoretically what's happening, what our relationship is with people there. So similar to the community collaborative that we have that WGS has on campus here, where you're thinking about leadership, where you're thinking about this sort of global feminist relationship and service learning and the role that it plays, but primarily that time is really spent out in the community doing the work. Do not be afraid of 6th grade children. You do know how to teach them things like rounding or long division or whatever. If you're sort of afraid of math, I promise you, people like froze when they realized they were going to be tutoring math because so many of us, especially if we're women and we're socialized to think that we're not very good at math, it's sort of terrifying to think you can do it. But one of the best things for me was watching my students realize the resources that you all have in you to teach things that you would never in your life know some of the things you are capable of if you didn't go on a trip like this and challenge yourself. Students who were the most afraid of teaching math came up with the most ingenious ways of showing children things like rounding, long division, how to write a story, what an adjective is. Those are the kinds of things that we're working on. And the reason that we're helping these particular children with this is that their teachers have identified them as students with a lot of promise, but who really need help in passing this test, which at this level will keep helping them track into going eventually to university. So Shaka, their education programs are really aimed at getting students young, helping them to make the transition later. So they have a very long, ongoing relationship with these kids, which is, it's amazing to take part in it.
Well, even us being from education, going and showing them that we're educated and we're doing this as educated like people.
Yeah.
It's going to make something click in their head.
Yeah, you're really great role models. Yeah, absolutely. It's really wonderful to watch.
What other questions do you have?
I think I asked them all.
You list them all, okay.
Well, do you have more?
I'm trying to come up with something.
Questions about classes we talked about, the excursions, you can kind of see, we've highlighted a lot of those in the pictures and the video.
What was the dates that were going, you know?
They're on, and we have these if you don't have a copy. May 7th to June 14th. Possible that could change by a day or two, but most likely those will be the dates. And I'll pass these up. If anyone doesn't have the official program flyer, feel free to take one of those.
So I was gonna say about the classes. So if you are a WGS major, these will count as two of your electives. If you're a minor, 493 counts in place of WGS 491, which is our sort of last required class for the minor. If you're an LGBTQ minor, same thing, this class is gonna count in place of WGS 491. And it's a really kind of important place to study, in part because the constitution that they came up with in South Africa guarantees equality. It's built into the constitution and it includes LGBT people, which is quite
That's
rare, quite progressive.
So if we email Nick Bromley, should we use like projected fee, like program fee, or should we do the 82?
He'll look up the whole thing, I think.
Oh, so
Yeah, you could say this is the program fee plus
And then
6 credits tuition, but
Okay.
he'll be able to.
And that program fee includes your housing, it includes your airfare, which is very
Most
expensive.
expensive.
And yeah, your entrance to all the things that we showed, several meals, the safari, which,
So, wait, so, yeah, like, what is the projected cost then?
It's not
For
bad.
Cause is that just like the stuff that, like, for food and everything?
they added that up, so that includes the program fee, personal expenses, additional meals, passport and photos, your international student identification card, that's what ISIC is, and your tuition, so that $82.65 is the
So
whole
is the
package.
4,835 doesn't include tuition, or it does?
Nope. Doesn't.
I think that's the way that everything at Grand Valley works.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or most universities.
Yeah, they divide those because not all trips have 6 credit hours for one thing. Some of them are short or some of them are less. And then the program fees vary basically based on where you're going, though they seem to be quite similar. They all seem to be in the same range right now, yeah. But a shorter trip might cost significantly less. Or the trip to Italy might cost a lot more, but that's a trip where you get to eat and drink, I guess, your way through Italy. I don't know. Where are the students?
I went to Italy in high school. We went to an amazing high school. My high school was. I was in the history club, so
That's amazing.
yeah, we went for 10 days. We went all over. We went to Milan, we went to Florence, Venice, Pompeii, Assisi, Sorrento, Capri, and Rome.
So you got the study abroad bug early. Yeah.
So something that no one has asked about yet that often comes up is food. What is the food like? Or maybe I'm just thinking about that because I really love food and I love to eat. But South Africa is really fascinating in that because of its history and all the different people who have colonized it at various times and have settled there, there's a lot of Indian influences, but there's also a lot of like Dutch influences and Western influences. So we were talking about those burgers. I think I had more milkshakes and burgers in South Africa than I ever do over the course of an entire year here in the United States. So there's often there is a lot of like mashed potatoes and like comfort food that we would here.
So there is like vegetarian version.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yep. But then there's also a lot of like curry-based dishes and a lot of like Indian influenced dishes. But the block where we stayed had like an Indian restaurant, a Mexican restaurant, a traditional African place, and probably more that I'm forgetting, like a ribs place, barbecue place. So you can really get a lot of different types of.
Yeah, that was really exciting. Because in Egypt, when we went to Egypt, we got very. It wasn't known for its food. Let's just say.
You get the same 2 or 3 things over and over. This is like a lot of variety.
Oh, okay.
So, lots of people have cell phones where you can actually exchange the SIM card in them. That's like purposely why I just got this new iPhone. So for many of you, you can actually use the phone that you are using here, and when we get there, get a South Africa specific SIM card. You'd want to get your phone, we'll talk about that later, but you'd want to get your phone unlocked. But you can also rent cell phones there very easily and inexpensively, and then people can call, then you have a local number people can call you on.
Or you just don't say call you.
They actually could call it. We have some cell phones available to rent through Shawco.
Is there like internet access though there?
Mhm. Yep, at the university, and there's where we stay has a Wi-Fi, yeah, Skype.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I was just not.
Just making sure because my mom will probably die.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
My friends like mentioned
The one-
it to her like, no, you're.
My mom is so
I'm like,
hardcore,
"Yeah,
she
I'll
never
never
calls
do
me.
that."
I'm like convinced my mom that this is safe, because my mom's like, you're not going to
That is
Africa.
the first thing my dad said.
My mom
too.
is like, oh hell no, you're not going to Africa. She's like, you're gonna die over there. Like, so how do honestly, I'm like, how do I convince her that this is like safe?
Well,
that I'm not
I,
gonna like die when I go over there.
you're not gonna die when you go over there. Any parents are welcome to call me and ask questions about safety, because obviously you're their children and they love you very much. And you're going so far away that it's very difficult to imagine a situation they can't control. But as far as safety goes, it would be, our recommendations for safety are that you are in groups of 2 or 3 people, like things that you would do when you travel anywhere unfamiliar, right? So we give you, basically PADNOS requires that we talk about safety and security tips. They give the same talk to every single study abroad program, and it's really stuff that you should do anywhere you go, even in Grand Rapids, right? Be aware of your surroundings, etc.
The other thing I would add that sometimes helps to ease parents' fear is there's some trips where like you're going by yourself for a semester, and that's the nice thing about a faculty-led trip is that we're all together as a group. So like if you don't come, yes, and not that we're gonna like babysit you, but if you don't come home at night, someone's gonna notice,
Right.
and so there's just some checks and balances that are nice.
But we
about
still
being-
do have freedom to do like
Oh, yeah.
extra excursions and stuff.
Yeah.
if we
And
wanna
you'll have
do
some
that.
free time to do plan activities that you want to do.
How long is the flight?
The longest I think is 17 hours. Assuming we have the same flight. And that was like from
Magically.
DC.
Yeah, magically I can sleep through a lot of it.
Including like immigration people coming on the plane. I saved her plates that she bought. Otherwise they would have been confiscated.
Yeah,
So,
slept through it.
Again, good to have a buddy. Good to have a buddy. We can watch out for you.
We are all watching out for each other,
Yeah.
which is what makes us, I think, really great.
And
We're together
I
in
think she
groups.
thinks
We
like
should.
hundreds of kids are going. I don't think she understands that it's like not gonna be really.
Yeah.
Right.
It would be more than
What fall? It's fall there. When we go. What
Mhm.
season is it? It'll be fall in our
heading
summer.
into their winter. Yeah.
So basically, the clothing that you'll take with you is what you're already wearing here in Grand Rapids in spring.
Mhm.
I just packed, I think.
Because it'll still be kind of. It'll be like.
It varies, like in one day we might have 70-some degree weather, and we might also have 50s, it varies across the day. So you wear layers, just like you do here
I
in
was gonna
Grand
say, it's a
Rapids.
lot like
Right,
Michigan, like
Michigan.
cool in the morning, warmer in the afternoon, cool again at night.
How many times have you guys gone? How many times have you done this trip?
This will only be the second time for this
Oh, okay.
trip, but I've been there another time in addition to that, and I've taken students to study abroad in several places, so it feels this is the best trip I've ever gone on, but.
Okay, I'm an
And
undecided major.
Egypt was awesome, but this is even better.
I'm an undecided major, so when the gender studies is not my major or minor, can I still go?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And as far as like thinking about how this might fit into your major, whatever that might end up being, number one, it can be part of your sort of your 120 credits that you have to get to graduate anyway. But it's possible that those classes could end up counting as an elective towards your major. That would be something I'd work out with an advisor.
And then the application is just online. Right?
Applications online due February 1st. You can start at any time.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah. See you soon.
I know we love 1 o'clock classes, but any other questions we can answer? Both my information and Dr. Namu's information is on that program flyer, so if you're like me and you're going to be like laying in bed tonight and be like, oh, I forgot to ask that, feel free to get in touch with either one of us. Because a lot of times as you continue thinking about it, more questions come up, so that's very normal.
And we're going to have another information session yet this semester, and then in the winter we'll have another one, and there's another study abroad fair. So there's lots of time to ask questions, those questions that come up from family and friends. you can shoot us an email. You know, parents usually have a lot of questions, and they should.
Okay, so what about like the people that are like in the neighborhood where we're gonna stay? Are they like okay to be around? Just because my roommate went to Spain and she would always get like creeped on and get proposed every day, so I don't know.
I don't remember a lot of
Yeah, I don't-
proposals,
Okay.
but I still, even in our neighborhood, want you all to be in groups of 2 at least, just because, again, you're unfamiliar with the area. But nobody had any problems. They didn't we went out every morning Brittany made me go out every morning
I'm a
at
runner,
6:30
so I have to
to go.
Friday walking.
Yeah, because we're very close to this really beautiful Riverside Park, and so we would get up in the dark, and yeah, I did never feel like it was a problem. It's kind of a cool neighborhood where we're staying. All of these restaurants and everything that's around there, it's kind of maybe what you would call hipsterish. So that's kind of interesting. That's who we're staying with.
Hipster bohemian.
You know, cool.
Cool. Young and trendy.
Young and trendy, yeah. Alright, I guess it's time to go to class. Some of us have to go to class.